Under the wide Montana sky, where the air smells of dew and freedom, my ranch has stood for generations. That morning, the sun painted the fields gold, and my grandson, Tommy, laughed as he tossed sticks near the old oak by the west pasture. At 62, I've seen my share of trouble, but nothing prepared me for the storm named Linda Hargrove, a woman who thought she could redraw my land with a clipboard and a smirk. When she drove her SUV through my fence and crushed Tommy's leg, laughing like it was a game, I knew justice wouldn't come from a courtroom. It would come from my bull, Samson, and a night she'd never forget. The silence before a storm has a weight, heavy and electric. That day, the ranch was peaceful, my Highland cattle grazing lazily, their shaggy coats glowing in the light. Tommy, 8 years old, ran through the grass, his laughter echoing like a promise the world was still good. This land, the Whitaker Ranch, has been ours for 4 generations. My father taught me to mend fences here, and I taught my son. Now, I was teaching Tommy. But Linda Hargrove had other plans. She arrived 6 weeks ago, moving into a gaudy mansion 2 miles south, all glass and no soul. She didn't bring neighborly gestures. She brought papers, HOA proposals, zoning rules, community plans. At town meetings, she tossed around terms like green space integration with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Before we could blink, she'd crowned herself president of the Greater Pine Valley HOA. Never mind that half the county never signed up. Ranchers like me don't take kindly to outsiders carving up our land, but Linda didn't care. That morning, I found her handiwork, a neon yellow sign zip-tied to my fence, declaring my land under review for HOA green space. It was staked right where Tommy and I built a calf shelter last spring. My blood boiled. I ripped it down, the plastic snapping like my patience. This wasn't a mistake. It was a challenge. By noon, she was back, standing in my south pasture like she owned it, her pristine blazer untouched by the wind. 2 men in vests hammered stakes into my grass, me father's grass, my son's grass. I stormed down, fists tight. "Get off my land," I growled. Linda turned, sunglasses reflecting my cattle, and smiled like I was a toddler throwing a fit. "Mr. Whitaker, the HOA board has approved a temporary greenway. It's just progress." I stepped closer. "Take your stakes and go, or you'll regret it." She pulled out a clipboard, smug as ever. "You're adjacent to our jurisdiction. Legally, you're part of this." I grabbed her clipboard and threw it into the dirt. "Come back, and you'll file more than a claim." She didn't flinch, and that's when I knew she wasn't just pushy, she was dangerous. That afternoon, the sky turned gray, heavy with clouds. Tommy was out by the calf shelter, chasing our stray mutt, his jacket flapping like wings. I was inside, sorting feed bills, when I heard an engine too smooth, too loud. I stepped onto the porch and saw her, Linda, in her white SUV, barreling up my road. She didn't stop at the gate. She smashed through it, wood splintering like gunfire. My heart sank. She wasn't slowing down. "Tommy!" I screamed, sprinting through the mud. Her eyes locked on him, cold and deliberate. He froze, a deer in headlights. Then came the sound of snap, a scream, high and raw. I reached him as her SUV skidded to a stop. Tommy lay curled in the dirt, his leg twisted wrong, face pale, tears streaming. He tried not to cry, my brave boy. Linda stepped out, heels clicking, no panic, no guilt. She pulled out her phone, angled it like she was filming a vlog, and muttered, "Unfortunate, but maybe this'll push the zoning through. That kid shouldn't be here." I roared, "You ran over my grandson." She took off her sunglasses, smirked, and said, "Keep your livestock in their pens, Mr. Whitaker." That was it. She'd drawn blood on my land, my family. I carried Tommy to my wife, Ellen, who was already calling 911, her hands shaking. "I've got him," I said, voice steady despite the fire in my chest. To Linda, I growled, "Leave." She didn't. She stood there, snapping photos like a tourist. The ambulance took 17 minutes. I counted every second, watching Tommy's hand clutch my shirt until the sedative took him. Then, silence, ridge-filled silence. Linda's SUV sat in my pasture, smug as her. She stood by the fence, clipboard in hand again, like nothing happened. "You'll get a notice Monday," she said, voice dripping with fake sympathy. "This incident proves your ranch is a liability." I didn't answer. I walked to the barn, the smell of hay and steel hitting me like a memory. Samson was pacing, his massive frame tense, like he sensed the wrongness. I grabbed a rope and Tommy's bloodstained jacket. She wanted a line crossed, I said to the dark. Let's show her. I hung the jacket on a post where Linda had stood, loosened Samson's gait, and stepped aside. He didn't need coaxing. He thundered out, hooves tearing earth, horns low. Linda was on her phone, oblivious, one heel stuck in the mud. She turned too late. Her eyes widened, mouth dropped. Samson hit her like a freight train, the crack of flesh meeting fury echoing. She flew back, slamming into a water trough, flipping over it, landing hard. Her blazer tore, her perfect hair now mud and straw. She groaned, tried to stand. Samson wasn't done. He charged again, horns slicing her purse, scattering her HOA papers and lipstick like confetti. Stop him, she screamed. No one came. Her crew hid behind the SUV, one even cheering. I walked to the SUV, axe in hand from the woodpile. Linda pointed, trembling. Don't you dare. I swung. The axe buried into the hood, sparks flying. I swung again, shattering the windshield. You ran over a child and called it zoning, I growled. Another swing took out the mirror, then the headlights. Linda slipped in the mud, her mouth hitting the trough, spitting red. Samson sniffed the SUV's rear, then hooked his horn under the door, flipping it open. Out spilled her files, maps, a sign reading "Welcome to Progress." I tossed it into a manure pile. You brought war to my land, I said. You smiled while hurting my boy. Now walk away. I threw her keys into the pond. She sat there, soaked, silent, broken. Drones buzzed overhead soon after, followed by another HOA SUV, this one with a media logo. Linda limped up, cleaned up, arm in a sling, but her eyes burned with defiance. Cameras rolled as she spun her tale. A tragic accident, but the HOA seeks peaceful integration. Unfortunately, Mr. Whitaker reacted with violence. I stepped forward, axe still in hand. Tommy has a broken leg. You ran him over and took a selfie. She waved at the cameras. Misinformation. The child was unsupervised. I held up the axe, not to threaten, but to remind. This built the fence you destroyed. Come back with another lie, and this land will bury you. Silence fell, even the drones quieter. Linda whispered to her assistant. Spin this. Make him the aggressor. We'll bury him in court. She didn't know my wife had recorded it all. That night, Ellen's video hit 2 million views. Linda's HOA post got 300, half calling her out. Ranchers and residents shared their own stories of her bullying. Tom Delaney showed forged permits. Maria Cortez had recordings of Linda's bribes. Deputy Larson held a press conference, citing her abuse of power. Linda was under investigation. 2 days later, a deputy brought an envelope, Linda's motion for property seizure, claiming I endangered her with rogue livestock. I laughed, signed it, and told him, tell her the only thing I'm vacating is her ego. She doubled down, posing by my broken gate for a news interview, calling me a rural militant. But the tide had turned. Social media dissected her lies, her cold smile after hitting Tommy. She came back once more, alone, hissing, I'll ruin you, John. Your land, your family. I unlatched Samson's gate. He took 3 steps. She flinched and left, never looking back. In court, her lawyer spun tales of self-defense, but my attorney, a quiet man named Harris, laid out the truth. Drone footage of her trespassing, tire tracks matching her SUV, an HOA contract predating the incident, and her recorded words. Maybe the kid needs a lesson. The room went silent. 2 weeks later, Linda was stripped of her HOA role, charged with reckless endangerment, child endangerment, trespassing, and fraud. 5 years in prison. She screamed as they cuffed her, but the air felt clean when she was gone. We rebuilt the fence, not to keep people out, but to mark our line. The town wanted to name a field after Tommy, but I chose Iron Pasture for Samson. Months later, Tommy, leg in a cast, sat by Samson, sketching her SUV in midair, Samson proud below. Justice flip, he called it, grinning. The land remembers the boots that scarred it, the hooves that defended it. The new HOA board asked before stepping on my soil. Tommy's cane, carved from the oak we burned her SUV's remains in, is his badge of survival. This isn't just about a tyrant and a bull. It's about boundaries, about what happens when someone crosses the line between power and decency. When your peace is threatened, you can be calm but not passive, kind but not weak. Tommy feeds Samson every morning, whispering Linda with a laugh. The bull pauses, like he knows. What do you think? Was violence the answer, or did Linda's injustice leave no choice? Share your story in the comments. Have you faced a bully like her? Stand up and speak out. Your voice matters.